to represent the party in next year's national presidential election. You will now see a debate between the two candidates vying for the nomination, Dick Boddie of Huntington Beach, California, and Marrou of Las Vegas, Nevada. But first you will see a brief discussion with David Nolan, founder of the Libertarian Party. In 1988, the party's presidential nominee, Ron Paul, garnered just over 400,000 votes, representing less than 0.5% of the total votes cast.
David Nolan, the founder of the Libertarian Party. First of all, how did you get the name of the party, and why are you one of the founders?
Well, to deal with question number one, the word libertarian really just means somebody who believes in liberty. It's just the adjective form of the word, the noun liberty. I am one of the founders, at this point the sole surviving founder, because I was one of the small group of people who in Denver, Colorado 20 years ago saw what Richard Nixon was doing, decided that the Republican Party, most of us had been Republicans, did not offer any hope for people who really believe in limited government, low taxes, civil liberties, maximum individual freedom, and we decided the time had come to start a new party.
That was in 1971. What will the campaign be like for 1992, and how do you try to increase your numbers as far as registered libertarians?
Okay, well, I think that 1992 is a year of great historic opportunity for us. I think a larger number of people in this country are unhappier with the way the government is controlling their lives and picking their pockets than has been the case at any time in recent history. We've seen evidence of that in the rising vote totals in our 1990 races and special elections that have been held earlier this year. So I think that our presidential ticket and our congressional candidates and our candidates for state legislature are all going to find an increasingly receptive audience, and of course as they campaign wherever they go handing out literature, they're going to be urging people to join the party, become a dues-paying member, and register to vote as a libertarian, which you can do in many states now.
How would you define a libertarian? The people who have gathered here at this convention, why did they come?
Okay, a libertarian is a person who believes consistently in the philosophy of individual liberty. The political debate in this country for too long has been between people who call themselves liberals, which means they are socially tolerant but believe in a lot of social welfare programs and a high rate of taxation on the one hand, and people who call themselves conservatives on the other hand. They tend to believe in less government in the economic realm, lower taxes, more freedom for business, but are far less tolerant of diverse individual lifestyles. The Libertarian Party in its philosophy is really a return to the ideals of the American Revolution. Men like Thomas Jefferson, Thomas Paine, Samuel Adams, George Washington. George Washington said, "Government, like fire, is a dangerous servant and a fearful master." The people who founded this country were fully aware that government is basically the enemy of individual liberty. And libertarians recognize that now too. We're in the forefront of the new revolution, which is gaining grounds, for the American people are tired of a big brother government that's constantly intruding in their lives.
You mentioned earlier two candidates. First of all, Dick Boddie. Who is he?
Dick Boddie is a college instructor and motivational speaker who lives in Huntington Beach, California, about 25 miles from where I live. And he's had considerable political experience as a campaign manager and in working with the media. He's never been a candidate before, as far as I know, but he's an excellent speaker and a very savvy man.
Our viewers were seeing a shot of him as he gets ready for the debate, which will begin in just a few minutes. The other candidate is Marrou. Who is he?
Marrou, incidentally, Andre and I share the distinction of both being graduates of the Massachusetts Institute of Technology, so we have a lot in common in a number of ways. Andre was one of the first libertarians to be elected to a state legislature, running in a partisan race as a libertarian. This was in Alaska in, I believe, 1984. He's had real-world experience in the world of politics. He's an extremely bright and articulate man, and I think either he or Dick would be a fine candidate.
We're seeing a scene of the two of the candidates talking at the moment. Do they get along well?
reasonably well as any two rivals for a political race are going to get along.
Where do they differ?
They don't really differ terribly on the issues. They differ more on the emphasis that they would place their campaign style, their campaign strategy. Marrou is a much more methodical person. He believes strongly in building a party organization. He believes that we're going to need to buy some commercial spots on television, as we did in 1980, to be taken seriously by the national media. He's not as flashy or as glamorous a person, perhaps, as Dick Boddie. Dick believes that his relatively charismatic style, his eloquence, and the fact that he, as a black man, and has an appeal to a segment of the population that a white candidate would not have, will give him a higher degree of free media exposure and will bring our message to a new segment of the population.
The format of the debate, what can our viewers expect to see for the next hour?
Each of the two candidates will be given an opportunity to make an opening statement of, 10 minutes or so, and then they will be asked questions. And rather than take questions spontaneously from the floor, what we've done is asked people who wanted to have a question considered, turn them into the moderator of the panel in advance. About 40 or 50 people did that. The people who are running the panel have subsequently gone through, filtered out duplicate questions, consolidated questions, and they will then feed those questions one at a time to the two candidates to make sure that the issues which most people have asked about, have had the highest percentage of inquiries, will be posed to the candidates. These will likely center on things like what issues will you emphasize, what's your campaign strategy, how do you differ from your opponent, have you chosen your running mate, things like that.
How many registered libertarians are there across the country?
I don't have an exact figure. I know there are approximately 50,000 in California. I know that California has roughly 1/8 of the nation's population. So I would assume that we would have a maximum of 400,000 and a minimum of 200,000. So I would say your figure that you quoted a little earlier, I believe, of 300,000 is in the ballpark.
As these delegates leave on Sunday and Monday heading back to their home states, what's the biggest challenge that they will face, and what message will they take with them from this convention?
As delegates or as libertarians in general?
As delegates and libertarians.
Well, of course, their task as delegates will be finished. The ongoing challenge to any representative of the Libertarian Party is getting members of the public at large to accept the idea that they can vote for a new party candidate or a third party candidate without, quote, wasting their vote. People tend to say, well, if you can't win, why should I vote for you? The answer, of course, is you're using a vote to send a message to help change the political system. Approximately 2 million people voted Libertarian in 1990 in a year which was an off-year election. I expect the total in 1992 for all of our candidates combined will be somewhere between 3 and 7 million people will vote Libertarian.
What kind of strategy do you have against the Democrats and the Republicans next year?
Well, I think a fairer way of putting that would be, what strategy do we and or the Democrats have against the Republicans? I think for the first time we're going to be in a situation where the question that's thrown at our candidate, why are you running if you can't win, is going to be equally applicable to the Democrats. I think we are in a position of facing a president who is very popular for all the wrong reasons, and what we have to do is convince people that rather than vote for either Bush, who is almost certain to win re-election, or a Democrat who can't win, that they should use their vote to say something, to express the way they really feel about the issues, and to tell the politicians that they want less government, lower taxes, and a freer economy.
David Nolan, founder of the Libertarian Party, we thank you for your time.
Thank you, Steve.
May I have your attention? Fellow delegates and Libertarian friends, tomorrow afternoon we will make a decision that will be crucial to the future of the Libertarian Party. Tomorrow we will nominate our 1992 presidential candidate. Never in our 20-year history has the Libertarian Party been so well positioned as it is today to realize substantial gains in name recognition, understanding of libertarian principles, and membership growth through the vehicle of its presidential campaign. Our nominee will have to deal with domestic issues such as escalating taxes, increasing violations of the Bill of Rights, and an ever-increasing concern about our environment, as well as foreign policy in a rapidly changing world. The American people are desperate to hear practical, satisfying solutions to these and a host of other problems. The Libertarian Party's presidential candidate must be someone who will provide these solutions and do so in such a manner that will help Americans understand and embrace libertarian ideas. This afternoon, we have a unique opportunity to hear the two announced contenders for the Libertarian presidential nomination, to witness how each of these gentlemen will handle the tough questions that will be asked of him if he becomes our nominee. As arranged with representatives of the two campaigns, each candidate will make a 2-minute opening statement. Based on the results of a coin toss, Mr. Boddie will speak first. Dick Boddie is a graduate of Bucknell University and Syracuse Law School. He was David Bergland's chief aide in the 1984 presidential campaign. He's been active in the LP since 1984. He's a professor, a motivational speaker, a mediator, an arbitrator. He's a resident of Huntington Beach, California, married with 3 daughters. Mr. Boddie will make a 2-minute opening statement.
Fellow libertarians, friends, honored guests, I'm honored to be with you on this festive occasion. I quote from Ludwig von Mises, "The flowering of human society depends on 2 factors, the intellectual power of outstanding men to achieve sound social and economic theories, and the ability of those or other men to make their ideologies palatable to the majority." That is my mandate to you. I am not supposed to be here today. I perhaps was supposed to drop out by now. I had no money, no organization, no support, no bar examination, no television ads, no matching funds. But, ladies and gentlemen, friends, supporters, I am here. It is my objective to simply allow the word libertarian to become a household word. It has been our vision since the beginning to make libertarian a household word, to attain the broadest possible acceptance, to promote the positive awareness of the ideals of freedom and the existence and virtues of the Libertarian Party. It is my objective to carry that banner out as of next Sunday throughout this country, to allow us to make libertarian a household word. Let us make history.
Marrou has been a libertarian for 15 years. He was elected as a libertarian to the Alaska House of Representatives in 1984. As the Libertarian vice presidential nominee in 1988, he campaigned in all 50 states. He was the first Libertarian and only vice presidential nominee to do this. Mr. Marrou.
Number 1, repeal the personal income tax and abolish the IRS. Number 2, stop replacing federal bureaucrats and let attrition take its course. Number 3, balance the budget and start paying off the national debt. Number 4, limit congressional tenures to 12 years. Number 5, privatize education, charitize welfare. Number 6, enforce the Bill of Rights, especially the right to keep and bear arms. And number 7, enact the fully informed jury amendment. These are some of the issues I'll be emphasizing in my presidential campaign. Our goals for the campaign are, number 1, to double the size of the Libertarian Party from 9,500 to over 20,000 dues-paying members. Number 2, quintuple the size of the mailing list from 18,000 to over 100,000 names and addresses. Number 3, campus outreach, over 100 campuses. We're already on 9 campuses. Number 4, 50 state ballot status. We're already qualified for 27 states. Number 5, last but not least, over 1 million votes. And in order to achieve our goals, we will use television, paid network television ads where we can control the content. TV got me elected to the legislature in 1984. TV will get us 1 million votes next year.
The following questions were submitted by convention attendees to be addressed by each candidate for up to 1 minute. The first question: how will your campaign produce membership growth for the LP? Mr. Marrou.
Okay. As I've already mentioned, we will be using television. They will be self-funded through 1-900 numbers, whereby people call us to the 1-900 number. They will be back-billed a certain amount. That will self-fund the TV ads. We will use those names and addresses to do more mailing. We will forward those names and addresses to the individual states and to the national party. We did this in 1988. I personally accounted for over 4,100 new names and addresses in 1988. We will continue that. We will build the party to over 100,000 names and addresses.
Mr. Boddie, how will your campaign produce membership growth for the LP?
Ditto to Mr. Marrou. Except we will also have an outreach which says on television locally and without having to put up as much money, we will have me out there chasing the camera and have me talking to people using the keywords that many of you know I always use when we speak to people to join our movement. And they are the single 2 words that say, join us.
Mr. Boddie, the war on drugs is a great violation of our rights as Americans. What would you do as president to restore these rights?
As president, to restore the rights of those whose rights have been violated because of the war on drugs is to immediately declare the opposite of what George Bush declared. We would in effect say that the war on drugs, which is a war on people, shall cease and desist immediately. We will make it plain that people have the right to do whatever they choose to do with their bodies, so long as what they do does not infringe on other people's rights.
Mr. Marrou, the war on drugs is a great violation of our rights as Americans. What would you do as president to restore those rights?
The war on drugs is really a war against the American people. I just came from a recreational drug legalization rally up the street here in Lincoln Park. There were about 150 people there. As president, I would use a line item veto power against the DEA, the Drug Enforcement Administration. That line item veto power currently does not exist. I think I can make it stick. Secondly, I will get a bill introduced in Congress to abolish the Drug Enforcement Administration. We will get rid of the DEA. We will re-legalize drugs. We will restore liberty.
Mr. Marrou, what is your position on abortion?
My position on abortion is the same that it always has been. It's the same as in the platform of the Libertarian Party. The platform is pro-choice. That is my position.
Mr. Boddie, what is your position on abortion?
My position on abortion, after many years of constant consideration, differs somewhat from that of the platform. The common denominator of my position is that I would never support any law requiring or preventing a person from being involved with that act. I believe that life does begin at conception. I believe that this is an unborn child, but I do not believe that the government should come in and tell people or tell a woman what she should do with her body. So I am pro-life and choice, anti-government intervention into the lives of American citizens.
Mr. Boddie, if you are elected, what happens to Air Force One?
That's interesting. I had someone tell me that they would support me totally for my total position of reducing the size of government and privatizing everything except Air Force One, and I suspect that that person is here in the room. We have to have our Air Force One, however, it would not be paid for from taxpayers through this force of taxation.
Mr. Marrou, if you are elected, what happens to Air Force One?
First of all, Air Force One will become Non-Force One. That big an airplane is not needed. I don't know why the president can't travel in those Airbuses in the sky like the rest of us. I've been doing this for years. I see no reason to stop now. Lastly, I am a pilot. I can fly. I flew a couple of days ago, and I continue to fly. I hope to fly as president. Thanks.
Mr. Marrou, I feel like giving up trying to maintain a free society in this country. No one seems to want or appreciate it. Thus, I'm seriously considering leaving my homeland and emigrating to another land, maybe a new country, to start over in a freer society. Why should I stay in the USA?
Because there is no freer society unless they erect one in the Baltic states. or unless one or more of the 50 states secedes from the Union. It can be done, and if any of you guys do it, let me know. I'm coming with you.
Mr. Boddie, why should I stay in the USA?
I would suggest to any American citizen out there who's contemplating changing countries to stay here right now, because there is a paradigm shift about to occur. I've traveled through approximately 30 states in the past 9 months. At no time in the history of my life have I heard such a rumbling where people are discontented with what the government is doing to them. So whether it is myself or Andre Marrou, there will be a Libertarian candidate there to challenge George Bush because the Democrats don't have a chance. Stay.
Mr. Boddie, how do you plan to campaign in the New Hampshire primary?
I thank you for even the consideration thereof. I plan to campaign based on a strategy which has been presented to us from Jim McLaren from the state of New Hampshire, which is very similar to the strategy that we have also developed. If one were to see them parallel side by side, they would realize that great minds of people around us work in similar channels. We will stay in the state of New Hampshire as long as is necessary, and perhaps in the Boston area. Gene Burns has done such a marvelous job to spread our message through New England, and done such a marvelous job to help support those changes that have occurred in New Hampshire. If necessary, I would spend the entire pre-primary time there. But the strategy of Jim McLaren, I find, is apropos, and we can share that with you if those of you who want to read it. I'll just say that's what we're going to do.
Mr. Marrou, how do you plan to campaign in the New Hampshire primary?
About a month ago, Calvin Warburton, representative in the New Hampshire House of Representatives, converted from being a Republican to being a Libertarian. He is here, and yesterday he and I discussed this. He has asked me to come to December to file for the New Hampshire primary. At that time, we will be discussing conversion of 2 or 3 other Republican legislators to Libertarianism. The New Hampshire primary is on February the 18th. I will be there at least 2 weeks, perhaps 4 weeks prior to that to campaign full-time in New Hampshire with the big boys on national television. And as a final note, I attended college and lived in New England 16 years. It will be like old home week for me.
Mr. Marrou, what issues do you intend to emphasize in your campaign and why?
I've already given those answers. The centerpiece issue of my campaign will be to repeal the personal income tax and abolish the IRS. Everybody hates the personal income tax. Everybody fears the IRS. That is reason alone to get rid of it in the United States of America. This is the issue that will cut across all ethnic lines, all economic lines, all gender lines, and all racial lines. Everybody can relate to this. You can bet your bottom dollar that Democrats and Republicans are not going to touch this with a mile-long pole. I will emphasize it from start to finish.
Mr. Boddie, what issues and why?
People have asked me how Mr. Marrou and I have things in common, and that is one of them. This distinction I find only that I would not abolish the income tax. I would gradually do away with the income tax, because it is my feeling that if we were to abolish the income tax and do away with the 16th Amendment, it could definitely cause a collapse of our economy. So I wouldn't be quite that radical. I've been known to be radical in the past. But I would like to do away with taxes. I would like to do away with the Internal Revenue Service. I think the issue of government waste is a pervading issue with all of us. That is the major thrust. But secondly, the trampling of civil liberties by the government, by the Republicans and the Democrats and their courts. I would emphasize the fact that the Bill of Rights, that we're celebrating the 200th anniversary thereof, we should be celebrating its requiem.
Would the implementation, Mr. Boddie, would the implementation of the LP platform plank calling for an end to all foreign aid without exception lead to a collapse of the Israeli state?
The collapse of the Israeli state could occur if the United States foreign policy were not supporting or making a 51st state of Israel. I indeed think that the United States foreign policy, as the libertarian position of foreign policy, is non-intervention in the affairs of other nations. And I must say, unequivocally that the intervention in the foreign affairs of the nation of Israel is to our detriment, and I do not believe that we should be continuing along the vein that we've been going. It gives a lot of people over there, the hawks, this feeling that they can begin to do some bad things to some people in that nation. I think we should reassess that position, and I think we should be consistent as a nation and as libertarians and get out of the affairs of Israel and all nations.
Mr. Marrou, would implementation of the LP platform plank calling for an end to all foreign aid without exception lead to a collapse of the Israeli state?
The United States did not create Israel. The Israelis created Israel. The United States is not responsible for Israel. The Israelis are responsible for Israel. We should stop foreign aid to all countries. That certainly includes Israel. Israel has always been able to finance itself primarily through fundraising with the American Jewish community. I encourage them to do that. This is the United States of America. I am an American. I am a libertarian, and we should be defending the United States of America.
Mr. Marrou, why do you think your candidacy would attract media coverage and be better able to attract attention to the LP and its ideas?
First of all, even if we don't get media coverage, we are going to buy television. They cannot keep us up whether they ignore us or not. We are going to be on television. Secondly, I've already told you about the number of interviews I've had this year. I've had approximately 150 interviews on television, radio, and in newspapers this year alone. Back in 1987 and 88, in all 50 states, I had over 500 interviews. I have had several interviews today, several yesterday, several the day before. We will continue to do this. I will continue to be on radio talk shows. I am scheduled to be on 2 nationwide television shows on Monday. Stay tuned, sports fans.
Mr. Boddie, why do you think your candidacy would attract media coverage and be better able to attract attention to the Libertarian Party and its ideas? Mr. Boddie, have you used campaign funds for personal expenses? Will you do so if nominated? And will you agree to abide by all FEC guidelines and reporting rules, as onerous as they may be?
I have not been in the habit of using campaign contributions personally. I would be willing to abide by any ethical standards. However, I do continue to have a problem with using the Federal Election Commission as a standard by which we libertarians ask questions. Thank you.
Mr. Marrou, have you used campaign funds for personal expenses? And I have a parenthetical comment. This would also apply to 1988 for Mr. Marrou. Will you do so if nominated? And will you agree to abide by all FEC guidelines and reporting rules, as onerous as they may be?
This is my second national campaign. The first was as vice presidential nominee in 1988 in all 50 states. Prior to that, I had 3 state campaigns in Alaska for the legislature, one of which I won. I have abided by all of these silly, stupid, egregious, onerous, idiotic rules, because to do otherwise would have gotten me at least fined heavily to waste your money, and beyond that, I might have been put into jail. This would have detracted from our efforts by getting rid of a candidate. So therefore, unnecessarily, I will stick to the rules. I will have to, although I dislike them intensely, and I'm sure you do too.
Mr. Marrou, if you do not win the LP nomination tomorrow, will you continue to assist the LP in getting ballot status and otherwise helping advance the goals of the Libertarian Party? Would you consider running again in '96? And what will you do to support our candidate if it is not you?
Well, this sounds like a one-sided question, because part of that question only applies to me. I've been doing ballot access for the past 3 years. We got Nevada on the ballot last year through private funds, 18,000 signatures. We just finished North Carolina with 61,500 signatures. I have assisted in getting laws changed in 3, 4, or 5 states, depending on how you count them. I have testified personally before various state legislatures regarding bills to get bills through the various state legislatures. My record speaks for itself. I've been a libertarian 15 years. I've been involved in politics 10 years. I will stay the course. I am here for the duration. I am here to achieve individual liberty.
Mr. Boddie, if you do not win the Libertarian Party nomination tomorrow, will you continue to assist the LP in getting ballot status and otherwise help advance the goals of the Libertarian Party? Would you consider running again in 1996? And what will you do to support our candidate if it is not you?
If I am not the candidate, I will immediately file to run for the United States Senate in the state of California. As a Libertarian, not as a Republican or Democrat. I am not a professional ballot signature collector. However, I would be willing, as the candidate or as the non-candidate, to go anywhere in this country to speak on behalf of ballot access, since that is my forte. But I am not a good signer. Should I not be the candidate, would I support the candidate? You bet your bippy I would.
Mr. Boddie, who is your first choice for a running mate? Has he or she agreed to run with you? And will you accept as a running mate whomever the convention chooses?
I'll do the second first. I will accept anybody that the convention chooses, to start with, number one, which is question number two. The first part of that is my first choice for vice president turned me down. It was Larry Dodge. My second choice for vice president was Don Ernstberger. He turned me down. My third choice for vice president was Andre. He turned me down.
Mr. Marrou, who is your first choice for a running mate? Has he or she agreed to run with you? And will you accept as a running mate whomever the convention chooses?
During the 25 state conventions that I attended this year, I was repeatedly asked this question. My opponent to my left has repeatedly stated that he is not going to accept a second position on a ticket. That being the case, I have repeatedly said that my opinion is, if I had my druthers, I would have a woman on the ticket. It has been It has been 20 years since we had a woman on our ticket. That was Tony Nathan. We got She was the first woman to get a vote in the Electoral College 12 years before Geraldine Ferraro. Tony Nathan is my media director. I believe that we should have a woman who is articulate, professional, telegenic, and has recent political experience. I have discussed this with several women whom I consider qualified. The only one so far who has shown any interest is Marrou. I will accept whoever the convention nominates.
Mr. Marrou, how can we eliminate taxes without defaulting on the national debt and on payments to retirees?
The national debt, in case you have not heard, is about $3.5 trillion. That's about $15,000 for every person in this room. Babies born today in Chicago are faced with $15,000 each. The interest alone on the national debt is about $100 per person per month. We must start cutting this. One of the first things that I can do as president is to stop replacing federal bureaucrats. Natural attrition accounts for 7 to 10% per year. They retire, they resign, they die. Just let them go. Don't replace them. In 4 years, we've got rid of 28 to 40% of the federal bureaucracy. We can start paying off the national debt. It will take a while. It must be done. It can be done. But believe you me, it will only be done if we have libertarians in the White House and in Congress.
Mr. Boddie, how can we eliminate taxes without defaulting on the national debt and on payments to retirees?
Andre and I have spoken across the country at various state conventions so well that when he's not with me, I use that statistic. I will say, though, that in order to avoid a panic in our society, I would definitely propose that we do, here comes the first Dick Boddie waffle, we would do it gradually. I also, however, believe that we already are defaulted in the national debt, that is a myth that sometimes we run too hard at, and things are bad enough that our efforts, other than being gradual, would have to be done very cautiously and very carefully. And many people are presenting white papers thereon. We don't call our papers the same thing, but our policy positions would state that this is something that must be done. Personally, I think we have defaulted already. Personally, I think that even with our efforts as libertarians, many people who think that they have vested remainders will receive nothing. And it's not the fault of the libertarians, it's the Republicans and the Democrats.
Mr. Boddie, how will your campaign appeal to gun owners in general and NRA members in particular?
Many of you may know Aaron Zellman, who was the head of the Jewish Defense, not Jewish Defense League, but the group that's gun owners, and he is from a Jewish perspective. I met in his home in April of 1990. We spoke with people in Gun Owners of America. My position on the Second Amendment does not waffle or vary at all from what the gun owners believe and even the NRA. They're the ones that do not agree totally with the Second Amendment by accepting certain compromises that have come back to harm them. We had the experience in Phoenix, Arizona of talking to the president-elect of the NRA, realizing that here's a person who supports the Second Amendment but has been actively involved with doing things that have undercut their effort. I believe that all persons have the right to keep and bear arms in this society based upon the Second Amendment of the Constitution, and some of my ACLU friends are beginning to realize that too.
Mr. Marrou, how will your campaign appeal to gun owners in general and NRA members in particular?
I am a life member of the National Rifle Association. Unfortunately, so is George Bush. I keep my commitments. He does not. When I was in the legislature in Alaska, I introduced a bill to change the Constitution of Alaska to read something to the effect that the right of individuals to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. I removed the phrase with regard to collective rights. I removed the phrase with regard to the militia. Our right to keep and bear arms is extremely important to us, not so much to protect ourselves from foreign invasion, not even to protect ourselves from criminals, but primarily to protect ourselves from our very own government.
Mr. Marrou, Should the Libertarian Party support legalized marriage for gay men and lesbians with all the same rights as heterosexual married couples?
Well, I don't know why homosexuals would want to have all the rights that we heterosexuals have. It hasn't been that great of an experience. I don't know why they would want to get the sanction of the state, because certainly there will be no children issuing from this marriage. However, if they want to solemnify their marriage according to the laws, I suppose it's all right. Why don't we just get rid of the laws, though, and let people do what they want to do?
Mr. Boddie, should the Libertarian Party support legalized marriage for gay men and lesbians with all the same rights as heterosexual married couples?
I am not one who would say that the Libertarian Party should sanction it, but I am one who believes that the legal licensing system, be it regarding gay and lesbian marriages, licenses to practice law, or any other licensing, is an abomination. So along the same lines of what Andre said, the state need not sanction that relationship, but perhaps my two parallels of agencies, the bar and the law regarding acceptance or rejection of these marriages, one fits to the other so the attorneys can continue to make money. I'm opposed to the party doing it, but I think people have the right to engage in any relationships they please.
Mr. Boddie, what will you do to raise money for your campaign?
Beg and borrow. We will not steal. Many of our rational friends here would like more specific answers. I will give you more specific answers. When the issue of money has come up regarding the amounts of money our campaign has raised, the questions were usually asked by those people who had been asked to send money, who sent no money. Therefore, I say to you, my friends, the way we hope to raise money is to ask you once again to send money and have you send the money rather than using the circuitous reasoning that says, Dick Boddie has no money, so we won't send him any.
Mr. Marrou, what will you do to raise money for your campaign?
We have already raised something like, I believe, $180,000. We expect to raise at least $1 million for this campaign, perhaps as much as $5 million. We will use as much of this for television as we possibly can. We will continue our fundraising efforts with groups outside the Libertarian Party, probably starting with gun owners, going to baby boomers, going to recreational drug users, going to women's organizations, going to minority groups, and on and on and on. We will raise money. We will also self-fund our television through 1-900 numbers. That in itself could prove to be the best fundraising method we've ever come up with. It hasn't been done yet in politics, folks, but watch out. We're coming.
The following questions were addressed to be asked of a particular candidate. However, I will allow the other candidate 1 minute to follow up if they wish. Mr. Marrou, in your recent letter announcing that you would not be accepting matching funds, the reason given was that, quote, the marketplace has spoken, unquote. My question is, are there any party principles which are constant, or are they all for sale in the marketplace?
Matching funds has never been in the platform of the Libertarian Party. To the contrary, the National Committee has already moved the next nominating convention from September 1995 to July of 1996. One of the major reasons for that is so that whoever the nominee is will have 9 more months to receive matching funds. Now, the market has spoken. We tried. We didn't quite succeed. It is difficult to qualify for matching funds. You have to get $5,000 in 20 states, no contribution over $250. We tried. We didn't make it. Maybe the next person will. Several state Libertarian parties have already taken the equivalent of matching funds at the state level for years and years. This is something which has been going on for some time. If you don't take matching funds, you're playing the Super Bowl without helmets. I think we need helmets.
Mr. Boddie, would you like to follow up on that question?
For the friends who may be watching on C-SPAN, I'll do an MC Hammer and say, can't touch that.
Mr. Boddie, in a televised interview you gave earlier this year, you stated that you would be willing to accept matching funds up to the amount necessary to secure ballot status. Doesn't this make your charges that your opponent is less than principled because of his intention to also seek matching funds hypocritical?
I've been called many things, including a hypocrite in my life. The answer to that is simply that that question asked by Lawrence Goldberg on the interview on Century Cable Television was preceded by at least 4 minutes of my stating that I am absolutely diametrically opposed to taking matching funds. And Mr. Goldberg then said, well, hypothetically, and if you saw it, you must remember, he said, what if, I recall saying something to you outside before the program, and he pressed and pressed. I said, if I were going to, that's hypothetical for you folks who have not attended law school, that's how we teach. I said hypothetically, mind you, I would not ever, but if I ever did consent, maybe in 10 generations or whatever, we would do it merely to offset those funds that we've had to spend for ballot access because it once again is a rigged game. I once again say I am opposed to matching funds.
Mr. Marrou, would you like to follow up to that question?
If I'm elected president, I will do what I can to get rid of the FEC, their stupid rules and regulations, and any possibility of matching funds.
Mr. Marrou, you have recently been quoted in the press as supporting restrictions on a woman's right to choose abortion based on the presence of brainwave activity. Since brainwave activity may be present as early as 4 weeks after conception, do you support the right of either state or local governments to prohibit abortions after this time?
I'm not aware of any such article. I certainly would like to see it, if it does exist indeed. I support the platform protecting a woman's right to determine what goes into her body and what comes out of her body. I support the right to abortion, and if anyone does want to start abortion at conception or try to identify when life starts, you have to be extremely careful. I do not believe life starts at conception, and if it does, we're going to have a lot of problems with women who have accidental miscarriages. I support the platform of the Libertarian Party, which does give a woman choice.
Mr. Boddie, would you like to follow up to that question?
Yes, just quickly and briefly, for those of you who may have misconstrued my previous statement, I totally support the position of the Libertarian Party's platform as the representative for this party. It is totally separate and distinct from my personal position regarding that issue.
Mr. Boddie, you have indicated that you do not believe the presidential campaign should be involved in ballot access. If your nomination should cause current ballot access activities to cease, would you campaign in only the 26 or 27, I believe, states we are now qualified in, or would you redirect your campaign activities toward ballot access efforts?
A typically circuitous libertarian question in paragraph form. The letter by Jim Perrin was not true. The letter by Mimi King was not true. I will go anywhere in this country to speak on behalf of ballot access. And my whole effort is not just to go where we are on the ballot, because remember, my vision, my mission for this movement is to make libertarian a household word first. I'm tired of being called a librarian, a Liberian, a libertine, a LaRouche, or whatever. I think it's important that the word become a household word first. As far as ballot, or whether we're on the ballot in a specific state or not, if someone calls and says, Dick Boddie, we need you in Oklahoma because we're doing a ballot drive and you would draw people to come to either do signatures or whatever, I'm there, folks, believe me.
Mr. Marrou, would you like to follow up on that question?
Speaking for myself, I don't mind being a libertine. Just kidding, folks. Just kidding. Just kidding. I have already discussed the matter of ballot access with Bill Redpath, who is chairman of the Ballot Access Committee. We have come up with the beginning of a plan. I want to start as soon as possible after becoming your nominee to start on the difficult states. States like Oklahoma, Ohio, Florida, and others. We need to start the difficult states now and get them out of the way. I do not want to get into next summer in June or July and have these difficult states staring us in the face. We need to do the difficult states now. We will be cooperating with the BAC. We will help them all we can. We will get 50 state ballot status for the second time.
Mr. Marrou, the argument has been made on your behalf by some of your proponents that the Libertarian Party should nominate you because you have paid your dues. Do you feel that having paid your dues will make you a better candidate?
Well, I don't quite know how to answer that. This is my 5th campaign. As I mentioned earlier, I was elected to the legislature in Alaska. One of the complaints that the governor had when I was in the legislature was that I got more press publicity than he did. The chief... The governor's chief of staff took me to lunch one day and made that specific complaint and asked me to calm down. I said, if you guys stop introducing and passing into law, signing into law those stupid bills, I will calm down. I was also accused of getting more press publicity than the entire rest of the legislature. Well, that's only normal. I was the only libertarian there. The Speaker of the House, Ben Grusendorf from Sitka, called me the conscience of the legislature. It stuck. I was happy to be the conscience of the legislature. And if I'm elected president, I will try to be the conscience of the country.
Mr. Boddie, would you like a follow-up to that question? Mr. Boddie, how does the reaction of the black community to the Clarence Thomas nomination impact your campaign strategy?
My brothers and sisters have been quite good to me by coming out in opposition to Clarence Thomas, because I am not a collectivist statist. I am a libertarian. Therefore, the position of the NAACP and other groups who have a tendency to really want to keep things like they are and be the spokesperson for black people in this country, they have done us a great service. I happen to agree with Clarence Thomas's positions on many issues. Therefore, I plan to be at the Senate Judiciary hearings on the 10th of September because they cannot talk to Clarence Thomas, he being the nominee, but I suspect that they could talk to the candidate for president who agrees with him.
Mr. Marrou, would you like a follow-up on that question?
In 1988, I met Clarence Thomas. He's a good man. He's a reasonable man for a conservative. Now, if I were president, of course, I would be naming libertarians to the Supreme Court. Clarence Thomas, does that mean you're applying for the job? Clarence Thomas is certainly a better man than the man he's replacing, in my opinion. However, he may not be ratified by the Senate. While I'm here, let me present something to you. Why don't we limit Supreme Court justice terms to 20 years or shorter?
The candidates will now each present a 90-second closing statement. Mr. Boddie.
Thank you. The Libertarian Party is the first political party in the history of this nation to have cast a vote for a female in the Electoral College for President of the United States. It is my contention that the Libertarian Party can also be the first political party in the United States of America to cast an electoral vote for president for an African American person also. Our grandchildren and great-grandchildren, when reading history in their private schools, will be able to say that the Libertarian Party was in the forefront of creating individual liberty again in this nation that had gone astray. And regarding all of my efforts for the past 15 months to a year and a half, I quote and paraphrase Thomas More in the movie Man for All Seasons. I do none harm, I say none harm, I think none harm. And if all this be not enough to secure the nomination, then in good faith, I long not to be your candidate.
Mr. Marrou, your closing statement.
This country was founded by libertarians. George Washington said, "Government is not reason, it is not eloquence, it is force. Like fire, it is a dangerous servant and a fearful master." Thomas Jefferson said, "I place economy among the first and most important of virtues and public debt as the greatest of dangers." Thomas Paine and others said, "That government is best which governs least." James Madison said, "There are more instances of the abridgment of the freedom of the people by the gradual and silent encroachment of those in power than by violent and sudden usurpation." In 8.5 years, the 21st century begins. It will be the century of individual liberty. The Libertarian Party will become the major party in the United States. Just Just 10 months ago in the November election, Libertarians received double to triple the number of votes that we had ever received before. Several Libertarians are actually elected to office in various states: California, Arizona, Texas, Louisiana, Illinois, and probably others. Nonetheless, some people say there's cause for pessimism. I say there is cause for optimism. The tide is turning. Liberty is winning. The people are rejoicing. Electing a Libertarian president and Congress is inevitable. It will happen. It's just a question of who and when. With your help, it will be sooner rather than later. Our time is coming. The dawn is just over the horizon. Let's get together. Let's reclaim our heritage. Let's just do it.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thanks also to all of you who submitted questions for this debate. We obviously could not use all of your questions in the limited time available. If your question was not addressed this afternoon, please be sure to attend the candidates' hospitality suites tonight and ask your questions there. Good luck in your decision tomorrow. Thank you.